And we'll do it live. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. All right, we're doing it live. And we're talking about the eternal Episcopalian. The eternal Episcopalian. So the Episcopalian Church, it's like I always say, if you think the Jews are doing stuff, you should look at the Episcopalians. You should take a look at the Episcopalians. Noticing Jews on Facebook and on Twitter has become so mainstream that I'm not even interested in it anymore, because I think now I'm actually going to call Jews and I'm going to go, hey, have you guys heard about the Episcopalians? I'm going to go to my local synagogue and I'm going to say, hey, bro, did you hear about the Episcopalians, what they're doing over there? They've got an AIDS shrine. They have an AIDS shrine at their church. A shrine to AIDS. An interfaith AIDS shrine where everybody can come and celebrate AIDS in the church. That's the Episcopalian Church. Now you're wondering, Brian, how did the Episcopalian Church become so weird? That's an excellent question. And what is the Episcopalian Church? Like, what even is it? Why do they have a rainbow BLM transgender flag as their coat of arms? Why does the Episcopalian Church have a rainbow transgender BLM flag as the symbol of their church? Why do they do that, Brian? That's what you're asking. Why? I'm going to tell you why. I know why. I know exactly why. So that's what we're going to talk about. The thing about the Episcopalian Church, from what I can tell, is that it was founded, I think it was founded right about 1789 or 1790. I'll look it up in a second. But it was founded, is my volume okay? Let me turn my volume down. It was founded, I believe, in order to subvert the Church of England's influence in the American colonies. So in other words, at the time of the founding of the Episcopalian Church, at the time, this was formerly the Church of England, right? And so the Church of England is the King of England. The King of England is the head of the Church of England. So when you join the Church of England and you're part of the Church of England, the leadership of your church, of your religion, is the King of England, right? So the King of England is the leader of the Church of England. And so when the American colonists overthrew the King of England, the Episcopalian Church was established. The Episcopalian Church was established. And the reason why I believe all that occurred is because it was a Roman Catholic conspiracy against the American colonies. I believe that the American Revolution was a Roman Catholic conspiracy against the American colonies. The Roman Catholic Church, the Vatican, wanted their colonies back, wanted their continent back, wanted North America back. And so they incited the Freemasons to have a revolt against the King of England. And then after that revolt was successful, they established the Episcopal Church, because you can't have the Britons living here as the American colonists. You can't have them going back to the Church of England under the King of England, you see. And so this is where it's led. Now, the first time I ever became curious about the Episcopalian Church was when I was a tourist in San Francisco. So one time, many years ago, I think it must have been around 20 years ago or so. I was in San Francisco and I was walking around because I'd never really seen San Francisco. I'd been there one time before when I was younger because my sister lived up in Marin County. We went down there one time, but I was there, I was older. I was there. I was going to look around and see things for myself. So I thought I'd do a tour of San Francisco. So I was walking around, looking at all the buildings, and I come across this church. And I always love to walk into old churches and stuff and see what's in there. So I walk into this church, and there's some mural. There's like a big mural and a plaque or something. I can't remember what it was exactly. Maybe it was in the ground. I think there was something on the ground, and there was something on the walls, and it talked about the establishment of the United Nations. So the United Nations was conceived either by or through the Episcopal Church. The Episcopal Church. The Episcopal Church is a U.S. founded church founded by the American colonists. Okay. So now in their church in San Francisco, they've got this mural about the United Nations and the founding of the United Nations. And so I thought this was very strange because all of my life, since I was a young man, I've always been curious as to who runs this stuff over here in America. Because if you notice, nobody really understands how things are run. We're told that we live in a democracy and it's a republic and it's a Republican democracy and it's a capitalist system. We're told all these things. And so you try to figure out, well, who's in charge and who's representing me, and do I even have representation, right? So I was always trying to figure out, okay, who actually runs all this stuff? Who's actually running all this stuff? So I was always trying to figure out, like, I knew that there was some kind of conspiracy going on against the people in America, but I couldn't figure out, or I was trying to figure out who are these people and how are they organized. So this was one piece of the puzzle. One piece of the puzzle was the Episcopalian Church and how they were involved in the founding of the United Nations in San Francisco before it was founded in New York. It was conceived in San Francisco. So the program was conceived in San Francisco in conjunction with this Episcopal Church in San Francisco. Okay, now San Francisco is also nearby where that one place is out in the woods. What's that place? The group that meets in the redwoods out there. That's pretty close to San Francisco. I can't remember what the name of that group. Alex Jones snuck in there and got the videos of them worshiping doing the owl ritual, right? That was out there. And yeah, so anyway, I always find that to be kind of interesting too, because it's an all-male group, very much like the Vatican. All guys, right? Guys only. It's a guys only group out in the woods doing their rituals. And then you've got San Francisco, and you've got the founding of, or the conception of the United Nations. Now, it's my opinion that the founding fathers, who were Freemasons, or deists, or both, it was the Enlightenment age. They were on the right track with most of their ideas. But the biggest failure of the Masonic order was that they did not establish a state religion based on their philosophy. And because they didn't establish a state religion based on their philosophy, since they're the ones creating this, right? Since they're the ones creating this system, they better codify their philosophy. And because they didn't do that, it opened the door to other interests. And that other interest was primarily the Roman Catholic Church. But the Roman Catholic Church, at the time of the founding of the American colonies, couldn't just come in and say, okay, let's all join the Roman Catholic Church. Nobody would have done that. Nobody would have supported that. So they had to do everything through secrecy. Everything had to be done through secrecy. And this is what I'm discovering, is that all the secret cults in America and all the secret groups that are operating behind the scenes, and all these front groups that you have in politics like BLM and Antifa, and you can't figure out where the funding's coming from because it's a secret, right? You got these front corporations, whether they are for profit or nonprofit. You've got a bunch of everything's run through front organizations that are run secretly by other people. The public school system's a perfect example. People think it's public. People think it's the government. It's a private nonprofit. It's called a 501c3 is the tax status of the public school operatives, the people that run it. So it's run by a private group called a 501c3, private nonprofit organization, but it's run using public money. This is the Vatican system. The Vatican system is to have private groups that run off public money as though it's the government, pretending they're the government. So it's all run through these secret cults that people falsely assume that this is the government. This is pervasive throughout the whole thing, from the highest levels of government to the lowest levels of your local government. So it's from the federal government, the state government, the local government. It's all run through a network of private organizations masquerading as government entities. And you just assume that. See, it's just because you're ignorant, and so you assume that a public school is run by the government because it gets public money from the government. Well, the money comes from the government, but the group running it is private. See, that's how the whole thing works, from one end to the other. Every sector of American society is run this way. But let's get back to the Episcopalians. It would not be possible for the Roman Catholic Church to overthrow the King of England and the Church of England and then just say, okay, everybody, now the Pope's going to be running everything around here. Everyone would have said, what? We didn't do this for the Pope. No, so they had to trick you. They had to do it all through secrecy and through secret organizations and secret cults, and infiltrating existing cults secretly, because they have the finances to do it. They had the money to do it. They had the money to pay their intelligence operatives who join the secret societies and then subvert them and use them to carry out the aims and the interests of Rome and the Vatican and the Pope. So it looks to me like you had this, just think of it this way. You've got the King of England and the British Empire. Okay, remember the British Empire, the sun never sets on the British Empire. Well, the British Empire basically stole all of that from Rome. The British Empire stole everything from Rome and then they said, now we've declared autonomy from the Pope. And so all this belongs to us and the Pope gets none of it. Now, they didn't take everything because the Romans, the Catholic kings were still running a bunch of stuff, particularly down in South America and and down along the equator down there. They were still running stuff there, but those Catholic kings were also getting very tired of the Pope at the same time, and that's what started the Jesuit Wars. So the Romans, the Pope, the Vatican were actually at war with both the Catholic kings and the King of England. Rome was at war with all of them. The Pope and the Vatican and the Roman Church was at war with all the kings, not just the King of England. He was at war with the King of England and the Protestant Union up there in Germany that had stolen all that from the Pope. All the Nordic states that are not and Germany, that was all taken from the Pope, because now they're going Protestant now. So they say, we're the Protestants, we're forming our own separate federation, we no longer answer to the Pope. And then you've got the kings, the Catholic kings in Central America, Mexico, France, other places, Portugal. And they're saying, hey, these Jesuits that you have working for you are stealing all of our stuff. We're supposed to get a cut of this, and we're not getting it. And we're starting to get really tired of this. So this is the beginning of the conflict. And you have to understand that the King of so the King of England, he's the head of the Church of England. So the Pope and the Jesuits swear blind obedience, right? The Jesuits don't answer to anybody but the Pope. All they care about is the Pope. Whatever the Pope says, they do. They do what the Pope says, period. So they have infiltrated the Masonic lodges and all this territory that in America, like Maryland, which was originally founded by the Jesuits in the 1600s, right? Well, that's where they ended up putting Washington, D.C. And that's where they put the Georgetown University, where the CIA recruits all their recruits. So obviously they needed to do something about the Church of England, right? You can't have the Church of England in America. So what they did is they said, hey, now that because the Freemasons overthrow the British, and they say, okay, guys, now that we've separated from England, No, we don't answer the England, but we're still the same religion though. Now it's called the Episcopalians. We're the Episcopalians now. Okay, so we're the Episcopalians now. Okay, so now what is the Episcopalian Church today? From what I can see, is that it's an arm of the Roman Catholic Church. I've looked at the Episcopalian Church, and what it looks like to me is the Episcopalian Church is everything that Rome wishes it could be, but is restrained by tradition. See, it's restrained by these traditions, and it's restrained by, conservative Catholics, because the Catholic Church is like a big America. It's got these two wings, and they're in the big thing together, which doesn't make any sense, man. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense that because it's not it's not just a religion. It's like it's a government, right? So this whole left-right paradigm thing, that's the Catholic model. That's what we have in America because we're under the Roman Catholic system. But the Episcopal Church is everything the Roman Catholic Church wishes it could be. And this is an arm of it. It doesn't. I promise you. Now, how did I come upon this? Okay, now what is the Episcopalian? The Episcopalian Church is BLM, LGBT, AIDS, interfaith, all the religions. Interfaith, AIDS, they worship AIDS, they worship interfaith. It's the everything church, right? Now, if you notice, this is also the religion of Washington, D.C. This is what we're forced to submit to, because this is the state religion, whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not. They established a religion, and it's called diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's the religion, and that's the religion of the Episcopal Church. And that is also the religion of all the corporations in America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, European Union, and UK, because it's under the Vatican. That is the political ideology of Rome. It doesn't come from anywhere else. It doesn't. That's why it doesn't exist anywhere else, right? All of the DEI, LGBT, BLM, race mixing, mass migration garbage that we are forced to experience in America, which has nothing to do with what the founding fathers were trying to do. This is all the religion, the political ideology, the political religious agenda of Rome. And so they have all these different proxy groups that they implement this through. And the Episcopal Church is one, a big one, globally, because it's international. Now it's operating in South Africa with the Vatican. Desmond Tutu, right? These guys that dress up in hot pink. They wear hot pink outfits. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So this is what I'm talking about. So now, how did I even come to this conclusion? I was at one point totally convinced that if we just let everybody know that it was the Jewish mafia behind everything, it would fix all the problems. But then I started to notice another problem. Why are all the churches, at first I thought, why are all the churches implementing the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith's agenda? Why are they all doing that? So then I started to come to the conclusion and the reality and the truth that if you want to fix what's happening to Americans, what's happening to Europeans and British and the rest, all of our kindred people, if you want to fix it, you have to confront the churches, the Christian churches. Don't worry about the Jews. Confront the Christian churches and go, why are you implementing the agenda of the Jewish mafia to your pastor? So I thought I'd start looking because I wanted to get the whole command channels all set up, right? Like, how do these command channels work? How is the ADL running all this, right? Because the ADL has a role and the Mossad has a role because, you got the Zionist stuff and the Christians are promoting Zionism. But then what happens is you find out that where they're at on the command channel is a big kind of a nothing burger. They're really not even in it barely. They're just like part of it. and ultimately their role is it exists, but it's limited. And so what I found out, because I was searching for, why are the pastors and all the Christian churches implementing the satanic agenda? And why are they working with the Jewish mafia and the Anti-Defamation League? And so where that led me to was the ecumenical system of the Vatican, of the Roman Catholic Church. And that's when I realized that all these Christian organizations are being run under this ecumenical system that all goes back to the Roman Catholic Church. And the Roman Catholic Church has a system set up for all of the Protestant, Evangelical, Methodist, Episcopalians, all of them, to come back into the fold, right? Keep them all into the fold through the interfaith stuff, right? That's why they worship the AIDS and the rainbow and the interfaith and the BLM and all that. That's the religion that's being this is the religion of the Roman Catholic Church and all of their proxies. This is how you can identify their proxies. Anywhere you see a rainbow, BLM, LGBT stuff, that's the Catholic Church. That is a symbol of the Catholic Church. If you notice, all the George Floyd stuff is coming back. That's the Catholic Church. That's the Catholic Church. Tim Walz, who's Catholic, governor of Minnesota, let them burn down the cities and kill people and beat people up and loot everything because he's Roman Catholic. And you're in a war. See, you're in a war with the Roman Catholic Church, and they have huge armies of brainwashed proxies that have no idea what they're doing, that are all run by the media, by MSN and MSNBC, CBS, ABC, Fox News, CNN. Fox News not as much, but Fox News still covers up all the truth so that you never figure out who's doing it. Dan Bongino, he's Catholic. He covers up the truth. He's telling you Epstein killed himself, and he's seen the video, but he won't show it to you. And there's a lot of stuff he covered. It's endless, but we're not going to go into that. What I'm telling you is, it's all the stuff that you think is the Democrat Party is the Roman Catholic Church. John Podesta. Remember the WikiLeaks emails that got Julian Assange sent to prison and basically tortured for years in prison? Well, John Podesta is an agent of the Vatican. He's a Roman Catholic agent of the Vatican, and he's worked in the Bill Clinton and worked for Hillary Clinton and worked with all these different administrations. He's always there, and he's at the Wall Street Journal, or the Washington Post? Sorry, he's at the Washington Post, and he's involved in the stuff with Marina Abramovic, with the satanic cults. And so what I'm telling you is these satanic cults that run Washington, D.C. with John Podesta and Tony Podesta and Marina Abramovic, who's also involved with Ukraine. See, there's this whole network, right? That whole network of satanic cults is run by the Roman Catholic Church. And these are their proxies. These are their proxy groups. Now, every time I go on Facebook, right? All my Facebook friends, it's all about how the Jews are doing this and the Jews are doing that. The Jews are doing this, and it's all the Jews are doing all of it. That's what they think. And to some degree, the Jewish mafia caused this by going along with all this stuff and implementing all. So it's not like they're wrong for noticing that there's a Jewish mafia. But the thing is, that's just a proxy for Rome, honestly. Yes, people like Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro and all those people, they have an interest. They have their own interest, which they're going on every day on the media, every single day, and they're promoting their thing, which is Israel, Israel, Israel. So that's real, but that's just one little segment. See, all that stuff is under the Roman Catholic Church. That's why if you're a right-winger and you watch Fox News, but then you become a noticer of the Jewish mafia, and then you're like, hey, Sean Hannity, he's tricked by the Jews. And Dan Bongino, he's tricked by the Jews. And all these Catholics and General Flynn is tricked by the... No. They're not all tricked by the Jews. See, you're tricked by the Roman Catholic Church. That's the thing. It's not that they're tricked by the Jews. It's they're tricking you, man. You think the people at Fox News that run these multi-billion-dollar media productions that are connected to the CIA and the NSA and the Pentagon, you think they're tricked by the Jews? Or do you think you're tricked by them? See, that's how that works. You are tricked by them. Now, one of the people who has kind of gone along with this is Tucker Carlson. And it's not that he's wrong about the things that he's noticing. It's just that these things are, let me give you an example. When I turn on the media, okay, I see Tucker Carlson, and he's like an elitist noticer. Like, he still uses the euphemisms, neocons. You know, these neocons are a lot of trouble. Maybe do my best Tucker Carlson impression. You know, these neocons are they're really getting to me. I can't even do Tucker. I don't even know. Tucker Carlson. I like Tucker Carlson. I like Tucker. I'm not saying I don't like him. I'm just saying. See, and then Mark Levin's like, I know what you're saying when you use that term neocon. Everybody knows Tucker. Right. Mark Levin's onto him. So Tucker Carlson goes on about the neocons, and he's like, oh yeah, you know, that Kagan lady, and then there's all these other people like Ben Shapiro, and oh, okay, I get it. Right. Now, here's the thing. All that stuff's true. Everything, he's not saying anything that isn't true. And now he's noticing that there's this thing. Everybody's noticing. He's noticing. Jake Shields is noticing. All my friends on Facebook are noticing. Everybody on Twitter is noticing. But they're all only noticing that one thing. Now, here's what happens. So let me give you an example. Let's talk about 9/11. So 9/11 happens, right? And the buildings blow up and the planes explode and everything happens. And then there's all these neocons who are involved in this thing called the Project of a New American Century. And they want to start wars all over the Middle East, right? That all surround the state of Israel. So obviously what everyone can see really easily is that there's all these Jewish people involved in this criminal activity, right? Larry Silverstein, and right? But what you don't see, and what I've been arguing the whole time, even when I was saying, well, yeah, there is this Jewish mafia thing, but what about this other thing? What this other thing is called the CIA. And so this is what I started to notice a long time ago, actually. I've been noticing this a long time, is that at first it was people were saying 9/11 was an inside job, meaning the government did it, meaning the CIA and there were people in the government, right, in the Bush administration. And then when that took on a lot of legs and people that got traction, and people were like, yeah, this does seem weird. Then it all switched over to it was not an inside job. And if you say it was an inside job, you're just covering for the Jews. That's what people started to say. How dare you say it was our government? We know it was Israel that did it. So here's the thing. Larry Silverstein, and there was a very minor role by Mossad, or maybe they contracted him to rig the building. I don't know. But who contracted him? Who ran security? That's the question. This is the obvious question. Who ran security? So I'm telling you that who ran security were Roman Catholics. George Tenet was the director of the CIA. Michael Hayden was the director of the National Security Agency, the NSA at the Pentagon, which controls all the electronic communications in the world and monitors all of it. And there's no way. See, this is what I'm trying to tell you. Let me explain how the system works. Roman Catholics run the intelligence services. Roman Catholics run the CIA. And if there's somebody in there that's not a Roman Catholic, they're working for the Roman Catholic Church and the Vatican when they're in there. When they're in there, they're working for an agenda that comes from the Pope and the Roman Catholic Church as a whole in the CIA and at NSA. So do they contract with Muslims to do terror attacks? Yes. Do they contract with the Jewish mafia to do crime? Yes. Do they contract with MS-13 and all these other Latin American terrorists and drug traffickers? Yes. That's exactly what they do. They contract them. But whose agenda is it? Who's paying the bills? Who's providing the infrastructure? The CIA, the NSA, Catholics, Roman Catholics. So the problem is when you see what's going on, I could look at Jimmy Dore. Look, if I go on YouTube right now, I'll see Jimmy Dore. And what's he talking about? Huge backfire for Israel. Israel's big mistake happening right now. Then I go down to somebody else, John Mearsheimer. Iran, U.S., and Israel, Russia, Ukraine, Israel. It's always the Zionists behind everything. And then I go to and these people, and then I go to this other guy, Redacted. I like his show. I can't remember what this guy's name is. He used to be on Fox News, right? And then he's got Gerald Salente. Israel, the Zionists. And then Colonel Douglas McGregor, who I like. He's talking about Jews in Israel. See, now it's all mainstream and it's all safe. Okay, it's all safe to talk about. Wasn't safe when I was talking about it a long time ago. But even when I was talking about it a long time ago, I noticed all these Catholics getting involved and subverting everything. Subverting everything because they're not interested in the truth. They're interested in pushing a narrative that actually hides the truth. And what I've come to through my experience dealing with these political organizations and anti-Semitic groups the whole time, it's not that the Jewish mafia isn't doing these things. It's not that Jewish groups don't get involved in stuff that you don't like. They do. The problem is they're low on they're really low on they're low on the totem pole. Actually, they're not running everything like you think they are. You think they're running everything because the CIA loves to tell you that all these crimes are all being carried out by the Jews. The CIA does this. The CIA does this because then you keep thinking it's all Benjamin Netanyahu's fault. See, what they don't want you to do is look at the Pentagon. What they don't want you to do is look at CIA headquarters or look into the FBI. They want you to look somewhere else. Now, that doesn't mean that Netanyahu is not doing stuff that's illegal or criminal or genocidal. All that's true. But I'm telling you, he's low on the totem pole. But having the Jewish thing and the Zionist stuff appear to be this. See, it literally, because I've been through all this, right? The Jewish stuff, conspiracy stuff, becomes almost like they're like magical, like the Jews have magical powers, and they really are like gods, and they control everything, and this is all being promoted by the CIA and the Roman Catholic Church. That the Chabad Lubavitch does everything, and these magical rabbis control the world. That's not what's happening. That's not what's happening. And anybody who tells you that is probably a Roman Catholic. So here's another thing, right? Because let's talk about satanic cults that run Washington, D.C. Okay. So everyone saw that Julian Assange exposed weird stuff with kids with John Podesta in the WikiLeaks. And this thing called spirit cooking with Marina Abramovic, right? So everyone saw what they were doing. It had to do with like mock cannibalism and weird stuff. And there was a lot of this mock cannibalism stuff going on. And then there was all these weird satanic blood rituals and weird stuff and weird, creepy, like seriously satanic weird shit, right? And it's all tied into all these people in Hollywood and MTV type of stuff and Academy Awards people and all these people in Hollywood and New York media, right? And the talk show hosts like the Corbett Report or whatever, right? So you see these connections. And so because you see Marina Abramovic, you're like, oh, it's the Jews again. Oh, look, she's Jewish. But what you don't realize is John Podesta. John Podesta is Catholic. John Podesta is an agent of the Pope. And this is actually run, these satanic cults in New York, Hollywood, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. are run by the Roman Catholic Church. These are control systems. The satanic cults are 100% proxy organizations, proxy groups, proxy cults run by the Roman Catholic Church in order to control people who aren't see, it's run by Catholics to get people involved in this kind of stuff so they can use them and blackmail them or just get them into the cult and get them strung along into this weird cult, right? And this is what the Duke of Brunswick, I think I've read you that quote before, was talking about when he said that the Masonic lodges were being taken over by an order which was proficient in black magic, powerful suggestion, and hypnotism. That's what this is. That's what these satanic cults are. And it is what you call the Illuminati, which is the Roman Catholic Church. That's their front name for the infiltrating organization that infiltrated and took over the Masonic lodges. So the satanic cults, when you see it, you're like, oh look, a Jew, Marina Abramovic. Okay, and then once you kick down that last door, it's the Vatican. That last door that you kick down is the Roman Catholic Church, and that's the toughest one to kick down, because once you get to that point, you keep seeing Jews, and then there's a Roman, and there's a Jew and a Roman, a Jew and a Roman, and then you start asking yourself, well, whose agenda is it? Is it the Jewish mafia's agenda, or is it the Roman Catholics? And it's the Roman Catholics' agenda. It's their agenda, and it's based on their religion and their interpretation of Christianity. It's based on, and basically for them, it's what you see in, okay, it is the rainbow flag. It is the rainbow flag. It's the BLM. It's the LGBT. The Democrat Party is if you want it like a really clear understanding of exactly what the agenda is of Rome, it's everything that's coming out of the mouth of Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, John Podesta, Bill Clinton, Al Gore, Dick Durbin. Like who else? Bernie Sanders, Chuck Schumer. It doesn't matter that they're Jewish. No, this is the agenda through the unions, like the unions, right? You know, the unions, the AFL-CIO. These are international unions run by the Pope. This is just another one of their proxies. So they're all involved in banking and Bloomberg. Bloomberg. I'm talking Bloomberg, the Washington Post. There's just it's all of it. It's San Francisco. It's all that weird race mixing, interracial, drug addict, weirdo, Antifa, blue hair, piercings, tattoos. That's what it is. That is the Roman Catholic agenda. Because they are sodomites. I'm talking about the Romans at the Vatican. See, one of the things about, and I don't only mean they're sex perverts that mess with kids and do weird stuff and all that. They do that. They do all that. They do that. That's. But the thing is because they're perverts and they're degenerates, everything they do is trickery. Everything they do is secrecy. Everything they do is backhanded. Everything they do is designed to waste your time and trick you and fool you and do things that are destructive to you. The Dr. Fauci thing. He's a Jesuit. He's a Roman Catholic. Tedros. Remember Tedros, the Ethiopian? Catholic. So a lot of these people, when you see them, you think they're a communist, or you think they're an atheist, or you think they're something else, or they're just a union boss. No, that's the Roman Catholic political machinery. And the Episcopalians are definitely a proxy, 100%. Who are the proxies? The unions, Black Lives Matter, LGBT, BLM, the Episcopalians, Anti-Defamation League, 100%. The Dr. Fauci, CDC, because here's the other piece of it. You have to understand it. The Roman Catholic Church's income is based on, remember how I told you in the beginning of this video, you have private groups getting public money. Well, that's how the Roman Church lives. And they live off the U.S. government that way. It's private groups that they control getting the public money. And then they take that money and use it to buy politicians and get them elected through the unions and through the finance and through the banking and through the industries, all that they all control. And they just keep that money circle going. And so it's public money funding private groups connected to the Vatican. Public money funding private groups connected to the Vatican. And those private groups are either 501c3, which means nonprofit, or for-profit. They're for-profit groups, they're nonprofit groups. When they contract with the government, they're for-profit groups or they're nonprofit groups, but they're connected to the Vatican. So the Vatican And most of this, a big chunk of this, has to do with drugs and drug sales and pharmaceuticals, right? This is why Bernie Sanders and the whole health initiatives, the Obamacare, was all about forcing you to buy health insurance to pay for all these drugs, even if you're not going to use them. Okay? Even if you're not going to use them. You see how good I look right now? I'm 52 years old. I've never felt better. I've never felt better. I'm not connected to any of that stuff. I go out and run. I get exercise. I eat well. I get lots of sun. Okay? Go look at the people that are connected to all that Obamacare, paying their insurance, getting the injections, Dr. Fauci stuff. They're either dead or they're sick or they're dying. And I've seen so many people die and get sick and killed by all that stuff. But we're not going to talk about that. But that's part of it. So, okay. So here's what you have to understand. The lockdowns. Now, why am I telling you? Why do I keep repeating this? Because this is not what the rest of the media is telling you. They're talking about, hey, bro, Jews versus Arabs. Hey, bro, did you hear about Gaza? Hey, bro, what's happening in Ukraine? You hear about what the Jews are doing over there? Zelensky, he's Jewish. So, yeah, I know. But he's also working for the Pope because he just met with the Pope. And everybody just had a big meeting with the Pope and the Vatican about how to overthrow Russia because it's a Roman agenda, because they've been at war with Russia, because the Russians are Eastern Orthodox and they're not under the Pope. And they have nuclear weapons and they got powerful other types of weapons. They can defend their territory against the Roman Catholic Church. And that's what it comes down to. Either you can defend your territory against the Roman Catholic Church. You can't. Western civilization cannot. Because the problem with Western civilization, which I prefer Western civilization, is it can't defend itself against the Pope because it's so intertwined. There's got all these infiltrators and interlopers and subverters. And so, for instance, in right-wing circles, let me give you an example. In right-wing circles, let's say I was going to make this graph, right, of right-wing politics. So you've got a white guy, and he finds out, and he's race mixed, right? So you got a white guy who's forced to race mix, and then it makes a circle, right? So what happens is he's forced to race mix. He doesn't like the race mixing, and then he starts noticing Jews and becomes anti-Semitic, right? So he sees the Jews, and now he becomes anti-Semitic. So then he joins the Romans. Then the Romans are like, "Hey, bro, I hate the Jews too." He's like, oh, "Okay, well, I'll join you." So he joins the Romans, and the Romans are like, "Yeah, and we like race mixing, and it's okay if there's, all this other stuff I'm not going to talk about." And, it's just a bunch of us guys up here rubbing our beads. And then he goes right back into the race mixing situation. So it makes like a circle, like you have those little graphs that make a circle. That's what happens. So let me give you an example how that works. Because I've been at this a long time. So you get these right-wing groups, right? And they're like, "Hey, bro, we've got to do something about all this race mixing shit sucks." And then you're like, "Yeah, I know. I hate it too." And then you're like, "We should do something." And then all the Catholics come in and you're like, "Yeah, man, these Jews, blah, 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 blah." And then they're like, "Oh, okay, these are our allies. These are Catholic bros, right? These are our Catholic bros allies." And then pretty soon the Catholics are like, "Yeah, but we shouldn't be racist though. In fact, we should like ally with the blacks and the Muslims." And then pretty soon now you're in an alliance with Candace Owens and the Vietnamese lady, and with Nick Fuentes and all these other African Americans, and then you're like, and who else is involved? Who is that gay guy, the Republican? Remember that guy? I can't remember what his name is. I don't keep track of all that stuff. And Laura Loomer, right? And then pretty soon it's just the same thing you were doing before, because now you're with the Roman Catholics. And then you listen to E. Michael Jones. He's like, "Yeah, those Jews are terrible. You should join the Roman Catholic Church. And hey, bro, let's go rub our beads together. And there's no such thing as white people." Like that's what E. Michael Jones says. Or there's Steve Bannon. He's like, "Yeah, we need populism. We need like a national populism. And by the way, that's not racist. And by the way, it's for all the races. And we're just gonna have like a civil nationalism, right?" See, the whole thing gets subverted and just turned back into the whole thing that it was originally. And then it just goes right back into, well, well, let's all just be liberal, right? It just makes a big circle because that's the Roman Catholic religion. And then you've got like General Flynn, right? Now, General Flynn did get himself into some trouble. But one thing I'll tell you about General Flynn is I started noticing something weird about General Flynn when he was with Alex Jones interviews. Right around the January 6th time. Because I already saw what happened at Charlottesville. I had a bunch of friends who were like, bro, we're going to Charlottesville. We're all going. And they got in their cars and left California and drove all the way to Charlottesville to go fight with Antifa in a park. It's like, dude, you're not taking the park. You're not getting the park. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason to go there to fight Antifa in a park run by the state police. You know, they're all going to be there. So I'm like, that seems like a dumb idea. But, you know, people went there and did their thing. They wanted to go. They wanted to go out and show, you know, a show of force. But anyway, you saw how that worked out, right? A bunch of people got arrested. One guy's still in prison because he drove his car through a bunch of people, right? So it was a disaster. It was stupid. Overall, it was. I mean, I'm kind of glad people went out and showed that, you know, there's people, but ultimately there's a lot of bad things that happened as a result of that. And so then now you have the J6 thing, and Alex Jones is like interviewing. Yeah, so Alex Jones is there. I remember watching Alex Jones marching around in Washington, D.C. on a bullhorn, and him and Owen Schroyer, and they were being very, they were being very, very outspoken, kind of like in a way that's almost pushing like a little too far for the, you know, for as I'm considering, like, as far as a security problem for dealing with Capitol Police and the FBI, and I know how they are. I mean, you don't just go start running your mouth over there with a crowd like that. And I was listening to what they were saying. I'm like, dude, they're kind of like pushing it. And I'm thinking, okay, so Alex Jones did all these videos about how, you know, the government subverts everything and has all these Antifa that'll mix in with the crowd. And it's like, okay, so he's over there doing this, and all that exact same stuff is what happened. And Trump, you know, brought everybody there. And I remember, so anyway, long story short, he's interviewing Mike Flynn, and Mike Flynn, before the J6 stuff, Mike Flynn is out there doing these QAnon rituals and oaths, taking the QAnon oath with a bunch of people. And I'm like, why is he doing that? And he's talking about his electronic army that he's got on the internet, leader of it, because he was the leader of QAnon, or he is, or was, or whatever. I guess he was. I mean, QAnon's dead, right? But that was all run by Mike Flynn, who's Roman Catholic, tied to the NSA and the CIA and the Pentagon. So that was all run by the Pentagon and Mike Flynn with a guy named Nakasone, also, who's at the NSA. So you see what I mean? Like, they have all these ways of subverting your movement and getting you arrested and doing all this stuff. And it's always the Roman Catholics. And so people think that it's the Jewish mafia behind everything. They think the Jews did 9/11, which was run by Roman Catholics. Yes, I think they contracted with the Jewish mafia and Mossad, and I think they contracted possibly with some Arabs to do something. I don't think Arabs hijacked the planes. I think that part was fake. I mean, I think the planes were real. I just think they were military planes, and I think they were controlled not with an actual. I think they were drones. They were just big drones, big, massive airplane drones, but they were electronic drones. That's totally within technological possibility. They didn't need pilots for that. They could do that with drones. But they did contract the Arabs to do something, to like be suspicious. And they did have Mossad doing something. Mossad was involved on some level, but ultimately it was run by the CIA and the Roman Catholic agents like George Tenet and Michael Hayden. And so, so I'm noticing, and so the whole push to say that that Jews did 9/11 is a CIA you're just repeating CIA propaganda when you said it. It's not that the Jewish mafia or Mossad wasn't involved. It's just that their involvement is so minimal, and there's no way they tricked the NSA and the CIA and the Pentagon. If you think they did, if you think that the CIA is tricked by Jews and that the NSA is tricked by Jews and that all these Catholics that run all these multi-billion-dollar media corporations tied to the CIA and the Pentagon, that they're all tricked by Jews, you're the one that's tricked, bro. You're the one that's a complete fool and a clown. And I'm trying to tell you that because I'm trying to help you. You're being deceived. You're being tricked into thinking that everyone's tricked by Jews. Marco Rubio isn't tricked by Jews. He's Roman Catholic. Dan Bongino isn't tricked by Jews. He's Roman Catholic. Steve Bannon isn't tricked by Jews. General Flynn isn't tricked by Jews. Sean Hannity isn't tricked by Jews. None of them are. They're Roman Catholics. They have an agenda that comes from Rome. And so the Roman Catholic agenda is Zionism on one side and anti-Zionism on the other, and they control both sides. But they're definitely they're definitely working with the Jewish Israel Zionist thing, 100%. It's just a little more. They try to make that. They try to make themselves look independent of that, but they're not. And that's why you think they're tricked. That's why you think Sean Hannity's tricked by Jews. And that's why you think the CIA is tricked by Jews. They're not. They're absolutely not. They're definitely doing it consciously. They know exactly what they're doing. And the Pope knows exactly what he's doing. And the people of the Vatican know exactly what they're doing. Then when you get the Ukraine thing, it's like, oh, see, Jews, Ukraine, Zelensky. But then the Pope meets with him. Because, see, it's okay. Because, see, those are the Russians. It's okay to kill those people, according to the media and the CIA and the Roman Catholic Church, because they're white, so it's okay to kill them, right? But the brown people, we have to pretend like we care about them because that's part of their whole BLM thing. That's part of their whole interracial thing, because it is an interracial church. It is an interracial church, so they have to do that. When it comes to the white people in Russia, they're like, white people are the problem anyway. That's their whole religion. That's their whole religion is anti-white. You have to understand, the religion of the Roman Catholic Church has always been anti-white. The fact that the Germans ever became associated with Romanism is a disgrace to the heritage of the German people who always fought the Romans. The name Germania was named by the Romans about those people that they kept attacking and trying to conquer. And they conquered them through Roman Catholicism. And they conquered the Celtic people through Roman Catholicism. And that's why I'm saying that the only way to defeat this is with a church that's race-based, just like the original Israelites were. See, the original Israelites, that's not the ones that you know of called Ben Shapiro and Dennis Prager, who are anti-racist. The original Israelites were just for their own race. They didn't proselytize to other races. And when the Romans backed the Hasmonean dynasty in 140 BC, it was the Hasmoneans under John Hyrcanus and others who started converting all of the different races in the area to Judaism. And it was the line of Zadok that went down to Leontopolis back into Egypt and fled down there and set up a temple down there to continue their work as the Aaronic line of Israel. See? And they got wiped out too by the Romans. The Romans wipe out any church, any religious order that opposes them is basically given a death sentence. That's why we're at war with Russia. That's why we're at war with Russia. That's why they got rid of the Church of England and replaced it with the Episcopalians. Now the Church of England is dead anyway. It's the same. Now it's all like that. It's all like that. That's why all the churches in America, Canada, Europe, they're all under this Roman thing, and they all push the same thing: diversity, equity, inclusion, race mixing with Muslims and Africans and Asians, and we're all the same, and transgender. That's the religion. That's the religion. So the way to defend against that, and it's and the Romans will kill you for trying to do this, is set up your own religion based on your race, because that's how all religions are actually natively created. All religions in the world natively are based on race and culture and traditions and language. It's all natively based on race, and that's the religion of the Bible. The Bible is a religion based on a race of people, an Aramaic race that went into Egypt and picked up the code of Egypt, which is God's word is light. The sun is like God's word. That was the whole premise of the religion. But it was for their race. And now they were leaving Egypt. Their race was leaving Egypt and starting their own thing. And the Greeks had that, like Hellenism, right? The Greeks had their race and religion and mythologies and language. And see, it's always based on race. And that gives you a degree of separation from these totalitarian movements. Roman Catholicism is totalitarian. It's everybody's included. Diversity, equity, inclusion. See, that's Roman Catholic. It's not the religion. It's nothing out of the Bible. And it's really not even anything out of the Talmud either. The Talmud isn't about race mixing. Not at all. So that's what I'm saying. The ideas of this whole DEI, BLM, LGBT, Antifa thing is the Roman Catholic Church. It's their interpretation of the Bible. The rainbow flag is the Roman Catholic Church's interpretation of the Bible. That is what it is. Islam is also another global, universal, everybody must comply, everybody must submit, oneness type of religion. Anytime you get that oneness thing, that's a false thing. It started with the Catholics. And then, it started with the Hasmonean dynasty. And they said we're all one religion now. Well, that wasn't the religion of the Israelites. That's not what they said. So right there, that was the first falsehood. Then that model became the Roman Catholic model. We're all one. We're all one. We're all one people, one religion. Doesn't matter what race or color or creed or gender you are. Well, that's not true. Not true at all. That's not God's design. That's not God's design. God's design is different races, different cultures, two sexes, male and female. That's God's design. See, the Catholic Church is inventing this false thing for commercial purposes. And of course, the Episcopalians, which is how we started this conversation, are the perfect example of it, because they're a proxy of the Roman Catholic Church, 100%. So you have, now if you compare these things though, right? If you look at the Roman Catholic type of universalism, totalitarianism, it's not just authoritarian, it's totalitarian. Remember the lockdowns and the forced injections? That was the totalitarian impulses of the Roman Catholic Church coming to kill you, coming to lock you down and kill you, and being paid billions through exactly what I described, public money supporting private groups connected to the Roman Catholic Church. That's the system, right? Private groups getting billions and billions and billions of dollars of public money, and in this case, for drugs, which is how the Roman Catholic Church runs. It runs off of drugs. It's a big drug business. That's what it is. That is what it is. That is its main thing is drugs, the global drug market, all the drugs, all the Prozac and the Ritalin and all the vaccines and everything you can imagine. They want to inject you with it, shove it in your mouth, shove it up your, never mind. That's the Roman Catholic Church. That's how they live. They live off of drugs. It's a big drug business that gets money from the governments. The governments just print the money and just shovel it over to the Roman Catholic Church for all their drugs. That's why they're so involved with AIDS. Okay, they have AIDS clinics all over Africa, and they get all this money for the AIDS, and it all comes from like the IMF and the World Bank. They give them all this money to fight AIDS, and it all goes to the Roman Catholic Church. That's the scam, bro. That's the scam. That is the scam. So the answer is you have to have a race-based religion that rejects and excludes people. Otherwise, you're going to get sucked into this big, what do you call it? Like, you're just going to get absorbed into this all-encompassing satanic system that just kills everybody. So what else can I say about it? Yeah. So anyway, so like, okay, like here's Owen Schroyer, and he's like, look. Everybody's focused on the Jews and Zionism in Israel. Look, here's Owen Schroyer. I like Owen Schroyer, but listen. Here's Owen Schroyer.
You go fight Iran. You go form an army and fight Iran. You go to Israel and fight Hamas. We are American people. It's not our problem. And you're not going to convince us otherwise.
See, yeah, that's all true. But this is what, and I think he's Catholic. This is what everybody's focused on, because this is the mind control. Let me end off on this. This is the mind control. The mind control is they have ways of diverting your attention. And the things that you're upset about are real. They are real. Look, Matt Walsh what does he talk about in his show? Gender politics. You're trans, this and that isn't real. Yeah, I know it's not. So yeah, it's upsetting. And then he just keeps talking to you about it. And he just keeps you wrapped up in your attention on that because he's Roman Catholic. But they're the ones running the whole thing. But you see, it's just a way to control. It's a control mechanism. He's not going to tell you, look, Sean Hannity's not going to tell you that Roman Catholics ran the security on 9/11 when the World Trade Center literally vaporized with bombs. And that was all run by the Roman Catholic Church, called George Tenet, CIA, and Michael Hayden at the NSA. Right? So what I'm saying is they're all there to just either lie to you or keep you. They know what you're upset about, and they just talk to you about it over and over again. So you just talk, and nothing ever happens. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to tell you what to do about it, and what you have to do about it if you want to get out of it. You have to establish a state religion, and in my case, because I'm in America, this is what I'm going to say exactly what it is: a state religion which completes the work of the founding fathers and the Enlightenment movement, the worship of the light. And frankly, the Israelite code is God's word is light. The code of Egypt before them was God's word is light. In the creation of Atom, God's word appears as the sun, Atom. God's word is light. And then in Egypt, and then in Athens, in Greece, it's the analogy or the metaphor of the sun of reason, like reasoning is like the sun, the light. That's from Athens. So those three areas, Athens, Israel, and Egypt, all had this code, which is God's word is light. And what I'm saying is that's basically the premise. And that should be the basic premise of the Church of America. And additionally, you have to base it on your culture, your race, and exclude outsiders that aren't part of your race and religion. And that doesn't mean you have to be on bad terms with them. And that doesn't, and I'll finish off on this. Any person can adopt this premise and create a state religion in this way, whether you're a Black African or a white American or a European or German or any race or Asian, because I want to finish off on this, is that I was watching this video about bees, or no, it was something on Facebook about bees, and they take, because you're thinking, well, we don't have the Aaronic line, we don't have this ancient line, it doesn't matter. All the people that created these ancient priesthoods, they all just came out of the same DNA as everybody else. And like in the bee thing that I was going to tell you about, the bees, when they lose a queen bee, they take a larva that's just from their population of bees, a bee larva, and they feed it the royal jelly, and it turns into the queen bee because it literally changes it physically. But it's the same DNA. It's what it lives off of, and what you live off if you're going to create a so-called line or priesthood to maintain a religious order, is you live off that light that comes from God, which is the truth. So if you make that your food, then anybody can form their own priesthood. With that, I'll end off.